if you're someone who doesn't have the most expressive face when you're talking and when you're apologizing, neurotypical people are going to read that as not being genuine. It can be the verbal equivalent of resting face. Like they can be like, well, you don't seem very sorry. You know, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that, like, you don't seem very sorry. When we apologize, we expect certain things that neurotypical people don't expect, don't want, and don't like. The more you say when you jump in and burble your apology, the more you can be misinterpreted. So hello, you wonderful citizen of cyberspace, and welcome to a video about autistic apologies and how this is one of the main areas of communication, I think, with neurotypicals, where our communication deficit or difference, depending how you want to see it, really trips us up. And it doesn't seem to even matter. Like, if you're normally someone who's really high masking, who gets away with everything, when it comes to apologies, it really seems to, like, even the playing field with autistic people. We all seem to get fucked up and fucked over by our innate logic and the fact that when we apologize, we expect certain things that neurotypical people don't expect, don't want, and don't like. We're not native speakers, essentially. When it comes to communicating with neurotypicals, and all the, you know, the non-verbal communication that they do, and the tone of voice, and all these unspoken rules that they have that we can't get our heads around. We're not native speakers of our own language, basically. When conversations are calm, you can usually get away with it and nothing's too awful. But when someone does something wrong, an apology is needed, and it's this tense, fraught environment, you make one tiny little thing that's lost in translation. Things can go horribly wrong. Basically, neurotypicals seem to want unconditional apologies. And they're coming at it very much from a place of feelings more than logic. So, like, when a neurotypical apologizes or wants you to apologize, what they're expecting is basically, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I really screwed that up. That will never happen again. I'll never do that again. I'm so sorry. How are you okay? Because they want a lot of expressiveness. They want a lot of sorry, a lot of kind of groveling, a lot of flipping it onto them and making sure that they're okay. They want the confirmation that it will never happen again. However, in all of this, they want no logic. They want no logic. And by that, I mean they want no explanation. Whereas us as autistics, if someone we really like kind of fucks up in some kind of way, this kind of like emotional apology, it's kind of empty and lacking to us. It's like, well, how can I know that it will never happen again if I don't know why it even happened? Like, I need to know what your thought process was and what was going on and why you committed this colossal fuck up. Like, I need to know. So when we apologize as neurodiverse people, we tend to say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It happened because blah, 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 blah was going on. And then this happened. It won't happen again because I've learned so much better and because X, Y, Z. We give this quite logical, quite wordy apology. And unfortunately, a lot of neurotypical people seem to see this not as an explanation, but as an excuse. They see our apologies as an, I'm sorry, but, blah, 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 blah. And it's funny, because like most people, I would say all neurotypical people hate the I'm sorry, but. Like, they really feel like you're going, oh, I'm sorry, and then you're just ripping that sorry away from them. Whereas myself, I'm not really bothered by I'm sorry, but. Unless you're saying something really stupid like, I'm sorry, but you really shouldn't be so bloody hypersensitive. Like, that obviously can fuck off. But, like, and I'm sorry, but to me is like, it's an explanation. And I think another problem that a lot of particularly not so high masking autistic people have with apology is the fact that if you're someone who doesn't have the most expressive face when you're talking and when you're apologizing, neurotypical people are going to read that as not being genuine. Like, if you apologize, like, they apologize with a lot of expression, like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, how are you doing? Are you okay? Whereas if you apologize and you're kind of like, I'm really sorry, like that was really awful of me. I'm really sorry. It won't happen again. I'm really sorry. Yeah. that could be very genuine for you. That could be very, very, very genuine for you. But because they're not seeing this all over your face, this weird conga dance of expressions that they kind of expect us to put on our faces, if they're not seeing that, it can be the verbal equivalent of resting bitch face. Like they can be like, well, you don't seem very sorry. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. Like, you don't seem very sorry. And I think the other one that goes along with this, and I am very guilty of this, is if you're someone who has a tendency to laugh at stressful situations or laugh in stressful situations and laugh at inappropriate times. And dude, I didn't even know that I did this until very recently. And it was only because of doing YouTube. When you're recording a YouTube video, you're constantly thinking to yourself, like, you're aware of the fact that people are going to see this who don't know you, who don't know what you're normally like, who don't know your backstory, possibly people who hate you, who are coming at you with cognitive bias and want to find things that you've done wrong. So you're very, 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 very aware of what you're saying and how you're saying it and all of this. So there's been a lot of times that I will just be talking and I'll talk about something dark and like a laugh will come out. And I'll have to be like, I have no idea why I just laughed at that. Or I will just re-record the whole section and just cut that out because it's like, what the fuck? But like I say, I've only noticed that I've been doing this for maybe about the past 6 months. And I'm not that hyper aware of my own speech in like normal life. When I'm talking to friends and stuff, I'm not constantly like judging myself. So I probably laugh at really inappropriate shit all the time, and it's not really a laugh. Like I think it's when I get onto darker subject matter, and I guess it's like it's a bit more uncomfortable, so this laugh comes out of somewhere. And obviously, if you're someone who does those kinds of things, particularly if, like me, you don't notice you're doing them, but you're apologizing and you get like a nervous giggle at some kind of point, or even just like a nervous half smile or whatever, because this is the thing. I think. I don't know if this is partly a British politeness thing or what, but I notice that when I'm out in public, I'm almost always wearing this kind of like, kind of like paranoid, nervous, constipated smirk, which is kind of this nervous, like, I'm not a threat, I'm not a threat, I'm not a threat, I'm not a threat, please don't attack me with anything, I'm not a threat. That's what's going on. And I think a lot of us fall into that when we're apologizing or when we're put on the spot too. We have this kind of like nervous, please leave me alone. It's, it's fawning, basically. If you've ever heard of like, fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, like these four stress responses. And fawn is basically fawn, big eyes, little smile, trying to just niceness away the conflict. And if you're someone who tends to do that and you're in this apology situation where people are coming at you and you're, nervous half smiling a little bit or nervous giggling or whatever, people, particularly neurotypical people who don't understand that you have a communication deficit, communication disability, they can see this as like, oh, they were literally laughing in my face as they apologized, is how neurotypicals are potentially going to see it. And the other thing, before I get onto like what I think you can do about this when you apologize to try and like limit these badnesses in terms of communication, I think that the final thing that we, as particularly autistics, but I think people with CPTSD too do this, the final thing we tend to do wrong with apologies is jumping in too fucking fast. And just burbling and saying all the wrong things because we haven't given ourselves time to step back and go, hang on, what do I really need to say here? What is going to carry over well as a good apology? What do they need to hear? What do I need to say? Because we get so stressed by the situation, and we just want it to go away because most of us are not good with conflict. We don't like it. It makes us really fucking anxious. Most of us are semi-traumatized anyway, and we don't like conflict. So we try and smooth it over too fast. But you can really fuck yourself over doing this because, like, say, we over-explain anyway when we apologize. So if, say, something went wrong and there were like 3 or 4 factors that went into it going wrong, if you give yourself the time to think about it, you will probably find that only one or two of these factors are really relevant to what went wrong. But if you jump straight into the apology, you're going to give them everything. You're going to give them all the four factors, and they're probably going to jump on one of these factors that is meaningless and bollocks, and it's going to make you look bad. So, it may be that you messed something up in some kind of important situation because there was like a gaping gap in your knowledge. Someone had not given you an important piece of information about what was going on, and that was why you fucked up. That's the important thing that you need to say, and that is the thing that's going to get you understood in this apology. However, if you also mentioned, I was a little bit stoned and I was kind of flustered and blah, 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 someone could pounce on that and be like, you just didn't care about the situation. You came into it, you were stoned, you've admitted you were stoned, you came to the situation and you completely fucked it to shit because you clearly didn't care about it. When actually it's like, look, actually, I wasn't given the information and I couldn't do it properly, and it's not all on me kind of thing. If you jump in too fast and you just burble your apology, also the more you say when you jump in and burble your apology, the more you say, the more you can be misinterpreted. When you over-explain, you talk and you talk and you talk and you go over so many things, and someone's angry with you and they want to hear sin in your words and they want to hear malice in your words, the more words you give them, the more likely they are to misinterpret something you say. So, I would say with apologies generally, if you are autistic or someone who just generally seems to like get lost in translation with apologies, I think the things you need to do, for one, as I say, try and take a beat. Like if it's going on like online in any kind of way, that is a blessing because you can take a beat, even if you have to send like a quick message or whatever and just be like, I'm on top of this. I need to formulate my words. I'm writing a text right now. I will be back to you. I'm not ignoring you kind of thing. And then take a beat. If you're in real life, however, it's a bit more difficult. It might help to be able to say, look, autism, it's quite difficult for me to apologize in a way that that comes over okay and that you're going to understand. So can I just take a minute and think about this and then we'll talk about it? If you can't do that, I would just say try and breathe as much as possible between your words rather than getting into the kind of, I'm so sorry, oh my God, yeah. But the main thing I think to say about apologizing as an autistic person, or honestly going into any difficult communication situation, so whether this is something like a doctor's appointment where you need to be taken seriously, whether this is something to do with like a lawyer or the police or like whatever important conversation where you need to be listened to in the right way you are stepping into, please God, before you say a word of what you need to say, do disclaimer and tell them, look, I'm autistic or I suspect I have autism, whatever your situation is. That means I do have communication difficulties and I have been really misinterpreted in situations like this before. I'm trying to tell you the truth. I'm trying to get this across and it is important to me, but I do have a communication disability and please take that into account. If you can start with that, I find that helps a lot. My word choice and the way I come across and things has fucked me over so hard before now, that now I do go into this spiel about autism and communication difficulties, and just please don't write me off, because I just know you can be in these tense conversations and, it can be a relationship with someone who really matters to you in an apology sense. And if you come out with even just, 4 or 5 words that come out wrong or that come out of your face wrong, non-verbal communication comes out wrong, people can get so stuck on a handful of words. Words can be so dangerous, and those words can be used to just flagellate you for all time, So it does help to just get in there first and say, look, this is not going to come across flawless with the communication difficulties I have. I think that is a helpful thing to do. And other than that, I would be interested to hear if anyone else has any other tips on apologies. Otherwise, obviously, that there is the thing of kind of studying neurotypical apologies and maybe ask them. Like, so when I apologize, I prefer an explanation. Like, I like an explanation. So I would like to give you an explanation, But I don't know if you're going to see that as me giving you a litany of excuses. If you'd rather that I just said sorry and left it at that, like, I can do that. And I apologize if I start flipping into explanations, if that's not what you want. Maybe ask them, you know, what do you need in this moment, kind of thing. That might also help, I guess. And yeah, I would say that's another thing actually to pre-disclaimer, is to say, you know, when you're saying, look, I'm really, really sorry, do you mind if I explain why this happened? Quite a logical person as an autistic, and I like to give explanations of my behaviour so that people don't just think I did like a crazy thing. If you maybe disclaimer that first, that might also go down better. So yeah, with all of that waffled, yes, if you have tips on communicating with your favourite neurotypical, that would also be useful in an apology sense. And I think the final thing to add is that it's hard to know this as an autistic person. I think particularly if you also have ADHD, therefore rejection sensitive dysphoria is your thing. It is important to know that you can't please all the people all the time. And sometimes there are no amount of words in the English language that are going to fix some kind of rift. Like, even if you feel it's fixable, it does take two to be reasonable in a conversation. Like, if someone is very, very determined to be unreasonable or to not accept what you're saying, sometimes that is unfixable. It doesn't matter what you do, it becomes unfixable. You cannot please all the people all the time. And if it's like a mass situation, like it's like online and you're being torn apart for something online by multiple people, or being, you know, in a WhatsApp chat with multiple people or whatever it is, yeah, you can't please all the people all at once. Also, there is this really horrible thing about neurotypical social skills, in that the ways that groups of neurotypicals often bond is that they often bond over picking on one scapegoat. So if like a group of neurotypicals comes together, they will usually find someone who is the odd man out in some kind of way, and they will bond over picking on that person. And obviously, if you are autistic, neurotypicals they sense quite quickly that we are a bit different, a bit weird, not quite like them. And it is likely that at some point in your life, if not on multiple occasions in your life, you will become that scapegoat that they bond over picking on. And I would say if you find yourself in that kind of situation, I from experience, I just don't think there's any coming back from that. Like, I don't think you can really clamber back up the hierarchy and become on a level with them once they've decided you're below them and you're the scapegoat and all of this. So I would say just try and get out of that friendship group or that nasty working environment or whatever it is. Do your best to separate yourself from it if it becomes clear that, you know, they have become a pack of coyotes and you are the prey, and it's not going to do you any good to try and stick around and to try and clear your name in any kind of situation like that. Anyway, this is a huge waffle at this point, so I guess I'm going to shut up. But yes, if you have anything useful or interesting to add below, please do so. And I'm going to shut up and go away. And yeah, I apologise for my like wheezy, rattly, horrible breathing throughout this video. This chest infection is really making horrible noises in my chest today. So apologies for that. But thank you for listening. Over and out. Bye-bye.